the Twitterati were trying to catch up with his speed. Thank you, Vijay. I will go back to Vodafone. Jonathan, the world's largest mobile company or telecom company. And Jonathan is the head of innovation at Mobile, and he likes us. Welcome.
So, thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure who I look at to do slides, but as Osama said, I'm delighted to be here for the second time. Actually, when I sat here and kind of arrived in India from Egypt about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I said two things, right? One was that I said mobile internet will be bigger than PC internet in 2 years, right? And everybody said, oh, it's slightly insane. And the other thing I said was that what we call traditional value-added services, so the services that are IVR and text, will in many ways start to decline in the country, right? And those two things have actually begun to happen. So I just want to talk you through some numbers. If you look at, and by the way, before I go into this, I have heavily plagiarized Mary Meeker's excellent Internet Trends 2012, okay? But the reason I've done that is because I can rewrite the slides, but actually her points are extremely valid. If you look at growth, where we are in the world today, India is the third largest internet country by population in the world, right? And our growth rate last year, in terms of percentage, if I can find it on the slide, was 38%, which is second only to the Philippines. These numbers are, in my view, somewhat inaccurate because these numbers mostly count fixed or PC internet access. If we go to the next slide. This was the prediction made by, I think, PwC or McKinsey back in about 2009, 2010, which said by 2015 in India, we'll have about 450 million people on the internet. And we are today, in my view, somewhere between 150 and 160 million. So we are making good headway. The second thing on this, sorry, if I can go back, is that we said that the mix would be mostly mobile, or the growth would come from mobile, but there would still be a large contingent of PC access. Go to the next slide. If you look at Opera, Opera is a big software browser company. I don't need to tell you this, but they will tell you that actually about halfway through last year, they did a survey, and they said that 46%, nearly half, of the people that are accessing the internet in India today are accessing it through mobile only, right? These changes, on the next slide, again from Mary Meeker's report, this is showing you the change in page traffic. This is not users, but actual consumption of internet in India. It's showing you that mobile has exceeded fixed, and in fact replaced fixed as the primary means of traffic driving in India today. Now, 18 months ago, we were kind of talking about the future will be, this will happen, hopefully, blah, blah, blah. The reality of the situation is that we are here today in the world's third largest internet population by population, and we will be in the world's second largest internet population inside 12 months. So all of this, what I find slightly irksome sometimes is that we sit in these conferences and we talk about what might happen, what's going to happen, this might happen. It's here today, right? There are hundreds of millions of people in India today accessing the internet through their mobile phone. Next slide. I think Vijay talked about Android, but Android is fundamentally important, right, for two reasons. If you look at the volume of devices that our colleagues and manufacturers of devices are saying are going to be shipped into India this year and the next year, you're talking about close to 100 million over those 2 years of Android devices. But the key point is these devices are going to be cheaper and cheaper, right? Today already below 5,000 rupees. Who knows what price point in the future? We're talking today about internet access primarily driven by feature phones, which is not a limitation, particularly in the absence of nothing else. When you give someone a smartphone at a cheap price point, then the possibilities become magnified many times. Next slide, please. So with all that said, there are some challenges, right? And I think this is why it's really useful to get a perspective from Mint, who support entrepreneurs. It's great to get a perspective from businesses that are already engaged in this space. But we have, and these are in no particular order, but this is my view of the challenges that face India and realizing the opportunity. We have an abundance of skill development capability. We're typically a place where other people's ideas are executed and built, right? We have a significant paucity in user experience design, okay? And that is something that I think we need to work on. What I mean by that is you need to be producing services that are intuitive, beautiful looking, and that work seamlessly, especially as we move in a world away from push of services, if you like the traditional value-added services, to consumer choice and customer choice, and therefore pull. There needs to be a return on investment. The business model, I would posit that the reason that the industry here has not grown is not necessarily because of a lack of opportunity or desire to win, but actually a lack of business model that rewards that effort. So there needs to be a business model, be that advertising, be it transactional. There needs to be a business model evolution. You know, we are not alone in struggling to work out how to monetize all this mobile traffic and inventory. Facebook is facing the same problems, to the dismay of its new shareholders. If you look at the issues facing the advertising industry, and you look at the time spent, our users on a smartphone spend 4 hours a day interacting with their device. And, you know, we have 160 million customers. You know, by any stretch of the imagination, that media should deserve a material part of any marketer's budget, but today it doesn't. IP protection, I believe, is an issue in India, as it is probably in China, which is there is a fear factor, which is if I build something and I've got a really cool idea, I don't really want to show it to anyone because somebody else will copy it. That's something that we need to think about. Finance becoming easier, right? So we are not alone in thinking that this is a very interesting market opportunity. And as a consequence of that, two things are happening. One is a significant number of people that were living, Indian people, that were living in the Valley and in Europe looking at this space are starting to come home. That's one thing. And the second thing is that the VC community and the private equity community are absolutely focused on this space and this market today. Language complexity, a challenge and an opportunity. You know, we are a complex country to serve content to. We know that where you provide vernacular content, and this was a theory which is now being proven. You know, a friend of mine runs a business that has created an application called News Hunt. And his service now, it's an application that runs on feature phone, smartphone, is now doing hundreds of millions of impressions a month in terms of page views, but most importantly, only 10% of its consumption is on English language content. So bringing a range of vernacular content to consumers in a way that's intuitive and useful has huge value. So finally, I wanted to say that, you know, we're the third largest country. I've said that before. The opportunity is here today. The irony of all of that is that we currently have the internet economy of a much, much smaller market. I don't think anyone even knows what our internet economy is, but certainly I can tell you it isn't a significant component of the country's GDP. If you look at the country's opportunity from internet and the opportunity for entrepreneurs and also the public sector or NGOs, the opportunity is absolutely massive. And it really is an opportunity that we have to be addressing today. Thank you very much.